Hello, everyone. I'm Lauren Lola, and I'm the distribution manager for the Center for Asian American Media. Thank you so much for sticking around afterwards. I'm really excited to discuss the films you just viewed. As a refresher, you just watched Mo'o and Standing Above the Clouds as the two wonderful films of the As We Rise Shorts program. Really quick, I want to give a shout out to Pacific Islanders and Communication, who are the sponsors for this program. So let's get to it by starting off with Mo'o. Mo'o is the story of two cousins, Keikoa and Mika. Keikoa, a rebellious teenager, is not taking the time to mourn the recent death of his mother. His younger cousin Mika decides to snap him out of it by dragging him out into the night in search of ghosts and signs of the afterlife. Joining me now is the filmmaker behind Mo'o, Anela Ling.
Hi.
Hi, Anela. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
So I hope I'm speaking for everyone when I say that I really enjoyed your film. I think it's very well done, very beautifully done. How did you come up with the idea for it?
It's actually kind of a long story. The writing process for the story itself, it started off very, very different. Like originally I just wanted to do like a fun kind of story with like a group of kids actually going like on ghost hunts. And as I was writing it, I was like, this is way too long. It was becoming like 20 minutes long. And I really needed to pare it down. So I ended up taking out all the other characters until I just had the two main characters. And then from there, the story completely took another turn and became the emotional one you see. But a lot of the inspiration for the story is very personal and it comes from my own life. So growing up, I remember going on like the ghost tours and stuff like that. But the story itself with Keikoa and Mika is based around my own experiences with death, and when my father passed away, and just how everyone reacted to it and how I reacted to it. And whenever I see movies where somebody passes, it's like a main point of the story and they have a funeral and all that stuff. And I've never experienced that myself. So I was trying to put that into a story and just like the different ways, especially at a young age, might experience death and how they handle it. So, yeah, so it's really based off of me in a lot of ways, but also yeah, I guess that makes sense. It's very personal in the end. Just things I find funny and beautiful, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I can imagine. How was making this film compared to previous projects you've worked on?
So this was my first project as a director, a writer director. So it was very different. I'm used to working in kind of, I guess, behind the scenes, like helping out on set or something like that, aiding or producing. So actually being in charge and like being at the head of all the decisions, it was there was a lot more, I guess, pressure because there's a lot of expectations. You have an entire team relying on you. You have like a timeline and you have to handle the money and the budget and this thing has to get done and everyone is like looking at you and thinking this movie better be good because I'm wasting my time on your set. So yeah, it definitely was a lot harder because the end product really is up to me. But compared to other experiences, I really, really enjoyed working with the kids. I really had an amazing crew, and it was really like one of the best, both the best and worst experiences of my life.
Oh my goodness. I hope the worst experiences weren't too bad.
You get over it.
So let's talk about the casting. How did you find the two young actors to play the leads?
So that was tough. I did have a casting director, and we actually went through a couple rounds of casting. After the first one, we didn't get a lot of kids actually because I guess the content of the script, like we had a bunch of parents drop out once they read the script because I guess it was a little, inappropriate for a 9-year-old. But on our second round, it was actually super interesting because the two leads, in my mind when I first saw them, I didn't immediately think, oh, that's them. I just remember thinking like, oh, they're really good. And then we had callbacks, and I realized, oh, we don't have enough Kekoas auditioning. And we got a video submission for Kekoa, and that was our first time seeing him. And I'm like, bring him in, bring him in. And he ended up being so amazing. Him alongside Mika, Tyson Zhao, they had such a chemistry. It was such a crazy process because we really didn't get that many auditions and only so many there's only so many kid actors on the island, and Mika, this was like his first film. So this was really like a first for him, and he just like knocked it out of the park, especially being so young. And I just really wanted something natural. I didn't want like an expert kid actor or something. So I just really wanted them to be themselves. And Sir Cornwell, Kekoa, he like really surprised me because he originally didn't fit what I imagined, like look wise, but it worked out so well. I'm really happy, and their parents were amazing, and yeah, got really lucky.
So the relationship between Keiko and Mika feels very real and very authentic, and I think it's good that you gave them the flexibility to just kind of be themselves and be kids. I am curious though, why did you decide to make the two cousins instead of brothers?
So during the writing process, I actually got that question like 100 times, and I actually did try the brother angle. Like I made the dialogue to reflect that they were brothers, but it just didn't. It didn't work for me. I just felt if they were brothers, Mika's understanding of the death would be more on par with how Keikoa reacted to it. So I wanted to create some sort of distance between them. Um, and that kind of fed into Mika's like naivety about the situation. Like, yeah, his aunt passed, but it's not the same as losing your mother. So I wanted to create that kind of distance. Plus, in Hawaii, there's this very big closeness between cousins, and I just felt like the cousin angle it allowed them to be more distant than if they were brothers.
That definitely makes a lot of sense when you put it that way. And speaking of, family ties, it seems like even though Mika lost his aunt and not his mother, it still seemed like there's a bit of a bond between them. In the beginning, the shot opens on Mika instead of Kikoa, and it's later mentioned in the film that Mika learned about all these ghost stories from his aunt. What do you think the bond was like between the two of them? I mean, obviously it's not depicted in the film, but I just wanted to hear your take on it.
The bond between Mika and Keikoa, or Mika and the aunt?
Between Mika and the aunt.
Oh yes. So I wanted to imply sort of with that reveal at the end when they pass through the gate and he asked him, "Where did you learn all this?" And he said from his aunt. It was kind of almost like a revelation for Keikoa that Mika has his own ties to the aunt, and he's mourning in his own way. So by like living through all the things that he learned from the aunt, by like taking him all to these places and being like, look at this, and this is what I know, it was kind of Mika's way of mourning. So also in that way, it was also supposed to show that like this passing down of memory and information, because the aunt was a lot more in tune with those kind of stories, and for it to be passed along to Mika, and then Mika's passing it along to Keikoa, I just wanted to also show that way of like remembrance and memory and preservation of spirit and that kind of thing. So Keikoa being so separate from it, he was supposed to see that, oh, like Mika has this connection to my aunt that I seem to be missing also. So in that sense, he realized like, oh, I don't follow this stuff, but in a way, this is how Mika connected with her, and it's might be something that I've missed. So
that is fascinating to hear about. Definitely. We're starting to run short on time, but I do want to give you the opportunity to, number one, let people know where they can follow you and your work, and number two, if there's anything you're currently working on.
So I guess you could follow me. I'm on Instagram. My personal Instagram is ring AA Ling, and we also have the Mo'o Instagram, which is MO.O movie. We try to update it with all the things happening right now. We're in the middle of our festival run, so you'll probably be seeing us at a couple more online festivals. As for what I'm working on next, I'm still writing. I really want to dive into the whole making more short films section. I really want to continue as a writer director, but as of right now, there's nothing concrete. I'm still helping on other people's projects for the moment, nothing personal just yet. But yeah.
Well, whatever you do next, I'm sure we're all excited to see it. Anela, thank you so much for your time and talking about Mo'o.
Thank you so much for having me. This was awesome.
Okay, so next we're going to be talking about Standing Above the Clouds. Standing Above the Clouds is a documentary that follows the mother and daughter activists of Mauna Kea and the efforts to protect it and the meaning to do so and the motive to do so. With me now, I'm going to be joined by the filmmaker Jalena Keane-Lee and Pua Case, who's an activist and is one of the subjects of the film. Thank you both for joining me today.
Oh, sorry, I was muted. Thank you for having us.
A sec. Okay. Before I get into making a film, I want to know for our audience who know that your film was featured in the Short Film Festival over the summer. Can you talk about how that was for you to have your film in the lineup?
It was kind of hard to understand. Were you saying that we were in the CAAM festival over the summer?
No, I was talking about the PBS Short Festival.
Oh, yeah, we were honored to be in the PBS Online Short Film Festival, and that was a really great experience. A lot of people got to watch it on there, and we were with a bunch of other really incredible short films. So that was great, and it was really smart of them having an online festival. I think we've seen now that a lot of festivals have become online, but that was a really great experience. Thank you for asking about that.
Of course, yeah, definitely. So can you talk about how you came up with for this film?
Sure. I My auntie lives in Kohala on the Big Island, and she sent me some of the headlines from 2015 of Auntie Pua and her daughter Havane, and I was just really struck by seeing them as strong women spokespeople for a movement and how rare it was to see that. And so I was really interested in like that mother daughter dynamic and being really visible and vocal and kind of what comes with that and what's part of that that we don't necessarily see. So that was the inspiration. And then I met with Auntie Pua through family friend connections. And she was like, oh, it can't just be about me and my daughters. Like, we have to have it about more than just about our family. So we worked together to find Mehana and Lena Ala and kind of come up with this criteria of people who had stood in different ways. So stood in the contested case process as a petitioner, and then also on the front line, and then also in day-to-day life and just being very vocal. Antipu, I don't know if you want to add anything or say anything about how we started.
Pua, can you unmute yourself, please? Pua, you're still muted.
Sorry, it just keeps muting. So I'll just continue by saying that it was really important, as Jalena said, that it not only be my ohana that would be highlighted in the film. So as she said, which is really important, there's many mothers and daughters on Mauna Kea who are standing for the protection of a sacred mountain. So we had to make sure that we selected the other two women, the other two mothers, by the criteria of having been involved in every aspect of standing for Mauna Kea. And that's how we were able to select Mehana and Lena Ala. So, as she said, it was really important that frontline action was one criteria, but also we are involved in court cases and contested case hearings in Supreme Court hearings and everyday grassroots community work. So if you were going to be in the film, that was really important to be able to say that we had been involved in everything, myself from 2010 and Lena Ala and Mehana a few years after that, probably from about 2012 or 13.
Wow. So it's been about a decade-long process for all of you.
Yes.
If you can both comment on this next question, what was the process like of documenting all that was happening?
Do you want to go first, Auntie, or do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Well, the process continues. We're working on a feature-length adaptation of the film to kind of really show everything that's been happening in the movement that couldn't fit into just 15 minutes of the short. But we work together collaboratively and make sure that we're on the same page about the themes that we're trying to convey and like the goal of the film, what kind of messages it will give, and what kind of tone it will have. And then we film and make sure, and we check in about like, is this okay to film, or different things like.
I think I'll continue for her. So I want to say something about filming when a filmmaker comes in and is going to take a look at something that is very intimate to us. It's something that we guard with everything we have because, as I say to Jalena, this is your film, but this is my life. So it really is a process where you have to be comfortable with one another with the same goal, with really understanding what the focus is of the filmmaker, but also what the focus is from those of us uh, who are being highlighted in the film. And like she said, checking in to make sure that what you film is appropriate because we're talking about every breath that we take is this mountain. And we are answerable and accountable to not just the mountain, but to a whole nation of people. So even though we're highlighting our own story, and that story is filled with celebration, challenges, that only mothers and daughters, only family members who lead uh, movements really experience on the day to day. So, having a relationship where we understand that this is more than a film about an event, this is about a film about every breath we take and our very lives. And so, I think that makes it something that you really need to have a partnership beyond just filmmaker, producer, uh, actor. It's about really having a relationship where you can talk about spirit, and you can talk about protocol, you can talk about ritual, and you can talk about really what's important. So that's the relationship that we have. And that's why we can keep on going to make a feature beyond the 15-minute.
Absolutely, yeah. And thank you for letting me know about the feature. I'm already looking forward to viewing it. Jalena, how was making this film compared to previous projects you've worked on?
It's been really transformative, honestly. I feel like it's
Jalena, I think you cut out again. Let's give her a sec.
okay. Am I back? Yeah, it's been a really transformative experience, and I feel like it's shaped the way. I mean, it's shaped me and like my heart so much, and the way I see the world, but also my filmmaking practice and how to work with the people that are on screen. I think especially for like women activists, a lot of times there's experiences with press or with coverage and like telling of your story that's not always that sometimes doesn't feel that good, or sometimes it feels like someone else is talking about you, but it's not really like something that's collaborative or something that's like giving you agency over your own story. So my hope is that like with this project, it's really taught me how filmmaking and storytelling, it can be something that is healing and something that gives agency to the people whose stories are being told. And also it's just been really amazing getting to experience the Mauna, and it really feels like I get like a front row seat at history and at this like beautiful change. So it's been such an honor, really.
Absolutely, yeah. There's so many other questions to ask about this film, but unfortunately, we're almost out of time. Can you both tell our audience where audiences can follow you and your work?
Well, I can go first. You can follow the film at Standing Above the Clouds on Instagram or Facebook, and we also have a website. And you can sign up for our mailing list on our website to get details about the feature film updates too.
And then you can follow us on Protect Mauna Kea Instagram and Mauna Kea Education and Awareness Facebook page. And I just wanted to highlight that you can also obtain some curriculum that goes with the film, because when this whole situation changed and everything became online, I was originally a middle school teacher. So we decided to form a little hui together and reach out to teachers to watch the film, to provide feedback, and to provide a lesson from elementary all the way to college that we could put together. So that's on vaihona.net, WAIHONA.net. And you can show the film in your classrooms. And we're always available to come in through Zoom for a classroom presentation. I just did one with a school in Massachusetts. And so we have presentations, curriculum that go with Standing Above the Clouds as well.
Awesome. Thank you for telling me that. I think a lot of people I encourage people to take advantage of that opportunity to learn more about this project and what's happening at Mauna Kea. Before we wrap up, I want to bring back Anela Ling into the chat. Yeah, thank you all so much for your time. I know that all of you had to wake up a little early to join this conversation today, but I, as well as the rest of CAAM, really appreciate you taking the time to discuss with me your amazing, amazing projects. So thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you so much.
Aloha. Thank you, everybody.
Nice to see you guys.
With that said, if you enjoyed what you saw and want to support CAAM, you can become a member actually, by making or you can make a donation. Please click the link above for more information. With that said, thank you so much again for joining this Q&A. stay safe and enjoy the rest of the festival. Take care. Bye.